Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Genos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Nate Groot Niblink. I'm the creator of Apples and Genos, originator of the Zero G Draft Strategy. And in this podcast, Blake and I are going to put a Christmas spin on fantasy hockey for y'all. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend. All I want for Christmas is you, Blake Creamer. How are you feeling tonight?
Oh, buddy, I feel good. This is it. It's honestly, it's my favorite holiday, but it's like my least favorite season. Like I hate the winter, but I love Christmas. So I'm just at a crossroads. But buddy, we're gonna have a good time. I love this stuff. We're fully ready and prepared. The Christmas tree is decked out. We got the presents in there. We got the stockings. We're doing stuff out there, and it feels good. So yeah, the only thing I really need is a win in some of these matchups here. Where are you at with yours? You feel good? Are you happy about this or what?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm ahead everywhere. 3 out of the 4 are in the bag. I got one more where the outcome is still in doubt. We got a period left. He's got Skinner, McCarr, Nurse, and I've got Ekholm, but I'm up by 10. This is in Kikuffle, so I also have Decord and Blackwood going head to head, and so far they've been net negative because, they've just been allowing goals and not getting shots against. So good stuff there. But overall, it's been a successful week for yours truly. Can't complain. But I think that we should get into some Christmas stuff here, Blake. This is going to be the last episode we do before Christmas, so we got to get it out for the people. We got to put a Christmas spin on fantasy hockey as much as we can here. And yeah, I would say I'm a converted Christmas enthusiast. In my younger years, I was like too cool for it, I think. But I think, especially having kids, it just turns you into a big old softy, and you see like the joy in their faces, how much they get into it. My daughter's like, "Can I wrap the presents with you?" All these things, and yeah. I think after a certain point, you just kind of give in and you allow the joy to come into your heart a little bit, and your heart grows 3 sizes.
A true
Uh,
Grinch.
yes, so that's where I'm at these days. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, man, it's so fun. Like I'm the opposite though. I was always a massive Christmas guy to the point that like I think my mom, like I had expectations of my family, especially as I got older. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
18, I'm 19, I'm 20. I moved out of the house, but I'm like, okay, like everything's still the same, right? Like tons of presents.
Yeah.
Here's my presents, and yeah, it kind of, as you get older, obviously it loses a little bit of the magic. But yeah, my kids, like especially my son, he loves every holiday. It's crazy. Like, and obviously Christmas is one of the best, but he'll celebrate anything. He'll celebrate St. Patrick's Day. It's bizarre. He's like, "Are you wearing green today?" I'm like, I don't care. Like, what? Who? I don't even know who St. Patrick is. So, but yeah, Christmas is a great time of the year, and yeah, I love giving and I love getting too. So yeah, there we go. We're gonna have a super time.
Now that we've learned maybe a little bit too much about Blake, we should get into the content here. We're going to do our top 3 Christmas movies. This was requested in the Discord server, so we had to come through on it. But yeah, top 3 Christmas movies. I'll go through mine first because honestly, I'm not a big movies person in general, as Blake, you've
Apparently.
documented with some abandon on this show so far across the multiple seasons that we've been doing this together. But yeah, in also Christmas movies, like I celebrate Christmas in other ways. Christmas movies is just not one of them, really. Like I'll watch a Christmas movie. I don't have anything against the genre. It's just like not something I'm actively seeking out. Like, oh yeah, I got to make sure I watch all my Christmas movies again this year. It's just not in the cards for me generally. But that being said, it wasn't too hard for me to pull together my top 3 here. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the top one here. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. First off, for anybody wondering if it qualifies, it absolutely does. You can get angry about it in the comments if you must, but it absolutely does qualify. And Die Hard is a terrific Christmas movie. Yeah, I don't know that I'm like a huge Bruce Willis fan, like in general, but the original Die Hard, like I don't know if you've watched it anytime recently, Blake, but it still slaps. So, big Die Hard fan. How about you?
Yeah, no, I love Die Hard. I watched Die Hard 1, 2, and 3, and then that the newer one that came out, I wasn't into that, but I
Yeah,
am a big Bruce Willis fan because this was like a guy in my heyday. Okay, like I was watching Bruce Willis.
right. You're like the same age as him, right?
Uh, well, I don't know. I have the same hairline most likely, but yeah, Bruce Willis. Fun fact: Bruce Willis did it. This reminds me of a movie that I used to try and rent secretly if I could when I was like 18 or 19. It was this Bruce Willis movie called Color of Night, and
Okay.
yeah, it was basically like unrated, right? And, what we're
Okay.
trying to do here,
Yep.
but you do see full frontal there with Bruce Willis. So
Oh
if
my.
in a different style of Christmas movie, I would recommend Color of Night. I don't know if it's in winter time, but anyways, Die Hard, beautiful movie. Nothing says Christmas like a loaded Glock and the word "die" in the title.
Exactly. Yeah. Nothing more Christmassy, nothing better to get you in the Christmas spirit, obviously, than a movie like Die Hard. Moving right along, my number two is going to be The Grinch, the Jim Carrey version. Huge fan. Jim Carrey's a Canadian dude, so I got to give props to him there. But yeah, it's a big Christmas movie. It's definitely the one. It's definitely one actually that my wife's family's been into. It's one that they always watch around the Christmas time. And so I think it's more so now that I'm actually stopping to think about it. I think it was more so once I started dating my wife and being part of their family Christmas traditions that I really got into the Grinch. But now it's a Christmas staple. So actually, probably if there's any single movie I always watch during the Christmas time, the Christmas season, it is probably the Grinch. So have to give it the number two spot here. What's your take on the Grinch for the people here, Blake?
Yeah, I love the Grinch, but this is the version that you like the best, the one with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's three really good versions. This is probably my least favorite, to be honest. And I love the movie; it's great because I love Jim Carrey. But the old Grinch, have you ever seen that one, Nate?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's creepy as hell.
Yeah.
Like it's actually weirdly scary. And I remember being scared as a kid. And you put it on for 2 seconds for the kids are like, "Ah!" So you get that off. But 2018, they made a new Grinch movie with like modern animation, and it's just delightful. I would say that's probably the one that I would watch year after year. But this one, just Jim Carrey's such a legend. It's so
Yeah.
good, but it's so frantic too, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
anyways, long
That's
story
the part
short,
I like. Yeah.
yeah, it's chaos.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the Grinch. It's such a fun Christmas tradition to watch the Grinch movies.
Yeah. Have to agree there. Next one over top of the list has to be Home Alone for me. This is an absolute classic. Home Alone, Home Alone 2, Home Alone 3, I remember watching as a kid
Oh
and I
no,
liked it
stop
as a
right there.
kid, but yeah, it definitely doesn't compare to the original. The original is an absolute classic with good reason. Joe Pesci, yeah, like everything about it is just picture perfect. Everything you want in a movie. The kid taking on the adults and getting the best of them. It's just so funny. It's still funny. Like after all these years, it's still like I know it's like the slapstick kind of humor, but it's still so good every time. Always hits with me. Never disappointed when I turn on Home Alone. So that's got to be top of the list for me.
Yeah, I mean, and spoiler alert, probably that's the right answer for number one Christmas movie for me. I've got a safe list and kind of a fun list, and that's that. Home Alone is the top of my safe list because it's the one I watch every year for sure. I remember as a kid, I watched this with a friend of mine, and every time we would watch it, we would laugh so hard. You're just crying, right? Like just that whole
Yeah.
scene where the wet bandits are getting annihilated, right?
Yeah.
Like or when Buddy steps on that nail. Oh, and he
Yeah.
makes it like, oh, and then he just falls back. Like, oh man, that's just classic stuff, man. I get happy just thinking about that. It's a great movie. I love. There's like a meme that came out. That's like, Home Alone in today's world, and it's like, with cell phones, and he just texts his mom like, "Hey, mom, I'm home alone. You forgot me." She's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. We'll be right there. I'll get on the next flight."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's like the credits roll. You're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
all right." That's so it's not exactly timeless, but it's timely. All right, we enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are my top three. Home Alone at the top, The Grinch and Die Hard are my top three movies. I'll give a shout out to if you want to go on the fun list, not the safe list. I'll give a shout out to The Night Before. It's
Ooh,
Seth
yeah.
Rogen and oh shoot, I'm gonna mess these names up. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in it. There's another main character that I'm
The night
forgetting right now.
before.
Oh my goodness, how am I forgetting this right now? I should have
Okay.
prepped better, obviously, and I probably should
Oh,
have.
it's got that guy. Is that Mackay
Oh,
Pfeiffer? Oh no.
Anthony Mackie.
Oh, right, Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's a great movie. The the part in the church where they're like doing mass. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it if anybody hasn't seen it, but oh man, I died laughing. I don't often like laugh out loud at movies, but this movie actually did make me laugh out loud, and so I got to give it that for sure. But yeah, definitely more on the fun list than the safe list. That one there. So that's my honorable mention for anybody looking for something that they might not have seen. I know Josh Hutcherson, shout out to Josh, loves that movie too. So yeah, that's a good one in my books as well. All right, Blake, I'm tossing it over to you. What do you got for us? Give us the top three. Are you going with the safe list or the fun list first?
I'll go fun list first. I think that's next in the thing here. So yeah, I'm not going to talk too long on these because Nate hasn't seen any of them. All right, but
That's
God's
probably
sake.
true.
But yeah. Anyways, my number 3 Christmas movie is The Ref with Dennis Leary. It has Kevin Spacey as well, and this is a banger. This is such a good movie. It's obviously set at Christmas time. Dennis Leary. Do you know who Dennis Leary is? Like, have you seen him? He's in like Chicago
No.
Fire, I think, or some crap. I don't know, but he was a stand-up comic. Kind of an edgy guy in the '90s. But anyways, yeah, he's like a he does a home invasion on this family. They were not supposed to be there, and like, yeah, he ends up they're having marital problems, so he's like reffing their arguments,
Right.
but it just gets to a ludicrous level, and he's so funny, like he's just so blunt. So The Ref is definitely a Christmas movie and one you should watch. It's hilarious. It kind of made Dennis Leary into sort of a movie guy, which, guys Nate's age don't even know who he is, and that's fine. But guys my age, Dennis Leary, a damn legend. So shout out to The Ref. Definitely check it out. Really good. Let's move on to the number 2. Gremlins. Oh yeah, buddy. Have you ever seen Gremlins, Nate?
I have not.
Oh my God. It's really, it's early 80s. So I mean, like I was 2 when these movies were coming out. Like, I can't remember when it came out, but the basic premise is he goes to like, I think Chinatown in New York or somewhere, and goes to this like older man, and he suggests this present for him, and it's this thing that's on our screen here, a mogwai, and there's it's kind of a horror movie. Basically, you can't get water on them, you can't feed them after midnight, because if you do, well, first off, if you get water on them, they multiply, and if you feed them after midnight, they turn into gremlins, which are these big green monsters, and they were like terrorizing the town. Very scary as a kid. Like, and there was one scene in particular, I'm not spoiling anything because this movie's like 40 years old. Oh my God. He puts one of the gremlins in a microwave. It's amazing. Like, he just blasts them to, smithereens. So shout out to the gremlin. Yeah, definitely. Maybe not for the kids, or unless you want to scare your kids. So Gremlins, Nate, watch it with the family, have some eggnog, just get cozy under a blanket and kick on Gremlins. That's good, clean fun. Yeah. And then number 1 for me in my fun list, Ernest Saves Christmas. This is a very underrated Christmas movie. You got to watch it. All right. If, Nate, do you even know who Ernest is? Have you seen an Ernest movie? Jeez. I don't know what to do. All right, first off, Ernest Goes to Camp is one of my favorite movies of all time. I will say that right here. And then this was his second movie, Ernest Saves Christmas. You got to love a movie where the guy's name is in the title, right? Yeah, that's a quality film right there, which that's confirmed. But anyways, yeah, Santa, loses his sack, and Ernest has to help him. He's a taxi driver. It's just beautiful. And seriously, I watched this like 2 years ago, and I got teary then. It's very heartwarming. There's lots to like. And you know what I love about Christmas movies just in general is it's always like, they talk about being selfish and wanting things, but at the end, like it's all about, giving and being with family. And it's kind of that nice vibe. And that just hits every time. I don't know. That's why Christmas movies work. And Ernest Saves Christmas has it in spades.
All right.
So you got to watch that. All right. Let me give you my list here real quick. Safe list. Number 3, Family Man with Nicolas Cage. That's a great movie. Have you seen that one, Nate?
Nope.
All right, moving on. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Nate, please.
Nope.
Jeez. All right, and Home Alone is my number 1. We'll leave it at that. Nate obviously needs some education here. This is insane. This man has a master's and he hasn't seen National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Okay.
There might be a correlation there, honestly.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Am I so out of touch? Oh God. Anyways, yeah, Home Alone, love that movie. National Lampoon's such a fun movie. Actually, National Lampoon's is the movie that I watch even more than Home Alone, although I think Home Alone's a better movie, and that's what I got to say about that.
All right. Well, we will get into some fantasy stuff here now that we've crested the 15-minute mark.
Yeah. Let's go
Uh,
longer. Let's talk about more Christmas stuff that you haven't watched.
well, we had to get some movie content in for you somewhere, Blake. Like it's been a theme for quite some time. This was definitely the place to do it. So I'm glad that we got it in there. I'm glad that I haven't seen these movies, so we could get your on-camera reactions to me not having seen all your favorite movies again. It's always great content, great
Very
for the
painful.
listeners,
Okay.
great for the viewers. All right, let's get into some fantasy stuff though here. Let's talk about these gingerbread house players. So gingerbread houses, um, I feel like gingerbread houses are supposed to be awesome. Like everybody's like, "Oh yeah, it's Christmas. Let's build a gingerbread house." And they never live up to the hype. You see like these picture perfect ones on Instagram or wherever on social media, and then you try to do one for yourself and like the icing's just in all the wrong places. It spills into the wrong places, and it just looks like, yeah, just nothing like the original or whatever's on the
Nailed
box,
it.
right? Yeah, it should be on that show.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's supposed to be awesome. It doesn't live up to the hype. For me, that player this year has been Philip Forsberg. Um, and honestly, like, I don't know that we're wrong about Philip Forsberg. I think he's just been that unlucky. Like the 62% IPP, 7.5% shooting percentage, 10.9% on ice shooting percentage. If you saw that coming this year, like, I guess congrats to you on being completely clairvoyant and having all knowledge of the future. You must be winning all of your fantasy leagues. But like, this is a guy who ranks first in the league in shot attempts per 60 on the season, skating almost 19 minutes a night, and somehow he's still only on a 63-point pace through 34 games of the season. Yeah, as we mentioned, he's racking up assists now. He's got 7 assists in his last 5 games, but it's still no goals in like whatever it is, 12 games now without a goal for Philip Forsberg. That's going to go away soon. I have no concerns, really. I still think Philip Forsberg is probably a pretty big buy low. There's probably somebody out there who's pretty sick of it. And, Philip Forsberg has been a bit of a polarizing player in the past. So I feel like there's not like this name cachet around him as there is with a lot of other superstars at his caliber of play. And so I do think there's still buy low opportunities with Philip Forsberg. So the fact that he hasn't lived up to the hype so far this season is just indicating to me that there is a buy low opportunity here. So that's what I want to say about Philip Forsberg. I still want to believe in the guy, even though he has failed to live up to the hype so far. What about you, Blake?
Yeah, I think we absolutely have to believe in Philip Forsberg, but the thing that like I've talked about him before on my buy low show, he's obviously a buy low. There's no question. Like if you look at these metrics, right? They're crazy. He's still popping off. This guy's first in the league in shot attempts per 60. That's you don't do that by accident, and he's been doing that for years. So we know that this guy's chucking pucks. He's getting scoring chances. He's getting shots, and they're just not going in. Like you said, he's extremely unlucky. So that said, like I don't have as high of hopes for him as I did last year. I feel like the team around him this year is really a problem, right? Like this is the worst team in the league, the Nashville Predators, in finishing, right? They're like, and obviously when you got a guy like Forsberg, who is one of their main shot producers, he's gone like how many games is it without a goal? Like 11 or 13 or what the hell did we say? Like
Yeah.
that's that's a problem, obviously, right? So Nashville is the lowest scoring team in the league, worst finishers, right? Power play is not going as well. So I feel like 80-point pace is kind of where I'd like to see Philip Forsberg sort of get back to. And at least he's picking up some assists, right? But yeah, this has been pretty rough because where was he being drafted? I'm trying to remember. Was he third rounder? Was he second rounder?
Yeah, he was in the top half of the second round in a lot of drafts I was in.
Yeah, me too. So that stinks. That's really rough, whereas a guy like maybe Zach Hyman, who were like, oh, what's happening? This is terrible. But the team around Zach Hyman was popping that, like they still have, McDavid and Draisaitl and all those weapons. Whereas like the team around Philip Forsberg, I don't know. We got an aging Stamkos. We got like Gus Nyquist, Ryan O'Reilly. I mean, these are supplemental pieces, but they're not really getting the biz. So anyways, yeah, that makes total sense. I'm still in on Forsberg, but at, less expectations for him.
Yeah, Fair enough. All right, give us your gingerbread house player.
Fair enough. All right. My gingerbread house player is going to be Jason Robertson, for a lot of the same reasons for Philip Forsberg, right? Like, this has just been a brutal season to roster Dallas Stars for fantasy. Guys that we're excited about, right? Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson, Wyatt Johnston, who's doing a little bit better recently, but they're all way off their pace. I mean, Jason Robertson, this guy's on a 56-point pace. Jonathan Huberdeau, anybody? Yeah. We got J-Rob now. And again, you were paying up to get J-Rob. He was a third round guy. I remember getting him like at the start of the third round, right? Kind of that turn area, late second, early third. But, the metrics are not great. Luckily, like he has 5 points in his last 5 games, but they're 5 of the quietest points you're ever going to see, right? He's chinsing in with little dinky assists here. And the ice time is down. Dallas power play is awful. Right. Digging in on J-Rob, 5-on-5, he's definitely regressed, right? Like he's got the lowest shots on goal per 60 that he's ever had, lowest shooting percentage, lowest individual scoring chances for, lowest on ice shooting percentage, right? That's not good. When they're all down, it's like, something's awry, right? Something's ajar. So I just think, I don't really see a way how he can get back to, I think his ADP was like 33. It was around there. I don't see how he's going to return that value for you. And it stinks, right? And I do think he has some room on the power play. Like his numbers there are similar to what they've been. And he just has a low shooting percentage. So I think there's some more room there, but I don't know. The way Dallas is running their offense these days, who the hell knows? They're changing things up all the time. And J-Rob has definitely been sort of a casualty of that, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a fair take. He's definitely getting less ice time, like about 17.46 average time on ice on the season, where I had him projected for about 18 and a half. But yeah, the rest of it is just efficiency, and it's been kind of crazy how inefficient he's been, given how efficient he's been in the past, right? 8.6% on ice shooting percentage on the season is ridiculous. Over the last 5 games, like second in the league in Corsi 4 per 60 and scoring chances 4 per 60. On ice numbers looking pretty good there. The big difference from J Rob now to where he was in that big season he had 2 years ago is that he's not individually generating a lot of those chances the same way. The shots per 60, the individual scoring chances 4 per 60 are down in a big way from that season. And so that kind of upside is probably out the window. I had him projected for 90 points at the start of the season. I still think he can be a point per game player rest of the season with the reduced workload, as long as the efficiency starts to come back up and kind of normalize a little bit. I think that should happen. I don't have a really strong reason to believe it shouldn't. Even if like the systems are not working the same way for him, the way that they're playing the game this year, whatever, I feel like that should even out to a point where he can still be at least a point per game player. This is still a guy with a lot of talent. I don't want to be out on players with talent and bet against players like that. I want to be in on players who I think have the talent. And like obviously Jason Robertson has demonstrated with 100+ point season in the NHL that he has the talent. You don't luck into seasons like that. So yeah, I still want to be in on the guy. I still think he's probably a bit of a buy low here, along with Wyatt Johnston, especially. Wyatt Johnston might be even more of a buy low, quite honestly, but definitely we're taking a step backwards in terms of where we thought Jason Robertson could be this year into what we expect rest of season. It's definitely a player who fits in terms of not living up to the hype. Okay, moving along, we've got stocking stuffers. So these are players that we kind of had lowered expectations, if you will, at the start of the season, but they've turned into a hold and turned into a player that we're probably not going to be dropping anytime soon. For me, that's Mikael Granlund. And Granlund has really turned into something this year. I thought with the arrival of Celebrini, just with the new direction of the team, they brought in obviously Tyler Toffoli in the offseason. They made some moves. William Eklund graduating to, kind of like a full-time top of the lineup kind of player. Will Smith coming in. Like, I just thought that there'd probably be less of an emphasis on Mikael Granlund. Still had him projected for 20 minutes time on ice, but on the season he's over 21 minutes and he's on a 77-point pace. Absolutely ridiculous stuff. And I'm like struggling to find what's so unsustainable about what he's doing right now with this kind of deployment. 71% IPP, 11.6% shooting percentage, 11.2% on ice shooting percentage on the season. Maybe you could say the on ice shooting percentage is a little high, but but I think we're seeing like the Sharks want to play a little bit more offensively, and they're like okay to not be that great defensively. Like they know that's not their strength, but they also know that there are some nights where they will be able to outscore some people. With Celebrini in the fold now, with Toffoli in the fold now, with Granlund playing at this level, there are some nights where they'll be able to outscore some of their defensive problems, and they're willing to kind of roll the dice in that direction. And so, yeah, Granlund was a guy I had projected for 60 points. He's on pace now for 77 points on the season, and I'm struggling to find a reason why he can't be at least a 70-point player, maybe more towards that 75-point player rest of season. Well, how do you see this, Blake?
Yeah, I mean, I picked him up in one spot, and I just haven't never had a reason to get rid of him. It's
Right.
exactly the way you're describing it, and there's just so many things to like, right? I mean, the sustainability in his metrics, right? Nothing's jumping off the page to me as super unsustainable. Yeah, he's shooting a little bit more, but I don't know. Like, I think having Macklin Celebrini as a 2C there, like an actual 2C, takes pressure off Granlund offensively, right? Like,
Yeah.
last year it was just they had one line and they were just getting to it every single night, and they would live with that, right? Well, now they have two lines that can actually do something at least offensively, and this is great for Granlund. I mean, I know San Jose is not a good team, but in terms of I don't know, just getting a chance to show your stuff, Granlund really landed in a spot here because this is a guy who was a middle six forward pretty much in every team that he played for, a valuable one, but now he's the guy, right? At least this
Yeah.
season, while, Macklin Celebrini sort of buffers in to that 1C role. And I'm here for it, right? Like you said, I mean, IPP, reasonable, shots on goal per 60, a little bit high, but everything else right in line, right? I'm looking at his 5-on-5 numbers too. Like, it's right there. Like I have no reason to get off Granlund, and even his performance on the power play, 11 power play points already. Damn, with San Jose, what? Who's their quarterback on the power play? Like what? It's a new guy every freaking game, and I like what you said as well about Ryan Warsofsky, sort of how he's sort of just running them out there and giving these guys a chance to just have some fun and compete, right? So yeah, I love this player. I can't get rid of him, and I think this is going to equal really good things for Macklin Celebrini moving forward as well, because it works both ways, right? I think Celebrini is able to have a little bit of pressure off because Granlund can shoulder the load offensively.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it hard to disagree with anything you said there. Big fan of Celebrini. I had him as my Kelder pick before the season over Michkov. I think it was in the preseason like hot takes episode that I talked about that.
Right.
Still holding to that. I mean, if you look at Celebrini's numbers, they're pretty
He
special
looks
too,
great.
right? Like,
Yeah.
he's only played 24 games, had that injury, but 79-point pace if you prorate it out over 82 games for him, playing almost 20 minutes a night. And like the shot generation numbers are right up there, 21st in shots per 60 on the season amongst all NHL players at, yeah, what is he, 18 or 19? Anyway,
Yeah.
as
Love
a
that.
teenager in the NHL, yeah, he's been everything as advertised and more. So definitely, I think Granlund and Celebrini have both benefited from each other's presence in the lineup, and that's not an effect that I kind of foresaw at the beginning of the season. All right, your player, Blake, is.
I got to talk about my boy, Stephane Waite. All right. I'm going to sing this man's praises as long as I have to make myself feel good about trading for him in Cupful when I probably shouldn't have. But, he's still a massively valuable player. This is a guy that I had passing interest in once he made his way to the top power play in New Jersey there. But he really started gaining some traction for me after listening to the PDO cast episode with Dmitry Filipovich and Jack Hahn, talking about him and his role on that power play and why Sheldon Keefe likes to have him on that power play and what he brings to that power play. So, and long story short, they kind of see him as like a Zach Hyman type player on that unit, right? And he has the hands to kind of fit that role, right? And then I also started to notice on 18 Skaters, shout out to 18 Skaters stream sheets. I use those. Stephane Waite was consistently in the top 10 in the league and sometimes in the top 5 in expected goals for, according to Mark's model. And then also dangerous shot attempts. Stephane Waite, like lights out. This guy's in the top 5 in both of those metrics, right? So I had to have him. All right. And fair play. Like this he has 2 goals in his last 5 games. Metrics are really good though, especially in the last 5. But on the year, he's on a 55-point pace. Not too bad. He has a career high in goals. He just got it the other night, 15 goals. the thing with Nason that I like and I also dislike is that his even strength deployment, terrible, right? And his performance
Yeah.
really at 5-on-5 as well. Like he's a third liner getting third line type minutes with metrics, right? Like, his 5-on-5 numbers are actually some of the worst of his career at this point, but it's the power play numbers that are really driving up that value. And that power play in New Jersey is cooking, right? They had a really hot streak there and they've cooled off a little bit, but I like that. I dislike it because he's obviously has crappy metrics at 5-on-5 and deployment, but I like it because what if he gets moved up the lineup, right? What if he moves up to the top 6 there, which I think is totally plausible, right? I think he can absolutely do that. Sheldon Keefe even talked about him the other night, just in terms of that. Like, yeah, this is a guy I trust to put out there in all situations. Like, I can move him up and down the lineup. I like what he brings to the table, blah, blah, blah. I think if he gets that opportunity, that's just icing on the cake because his role on the power play is absolutely secure to me. And he's already got 10 points there. He's got 7 power play goals. This guy's a legend. So anyways, Stephane Waite, shout out to you. Yeah, I actually traded for this guy. It's not just a guy I picked up. Like, I traded for him. I sought him out and traded for him, and you should too. If he's on your waivers, see if it fits your team, and I think you should probably pick up some Stephane Waite.
Yeah, I don't love Stefan Nason as much as you do. I am still trying to figure out with Nason how much of it is, he is that net front guy on the power play, and so he gets a bunch of these like bang away at the front of the net chances that are like because of where they happen on the ice, they look like really good scoring chances, but actually they're probably just
Yeah.
him like banging it into the
Is
goalie's
he Luke
pads a couple
Schenning
of
it out
times.
there? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the part that I'm still trying to figure out with Stefan Nason. Like, this guy's been around for a hot minute, right? Like, he started his NHL career in 2014-15 in that season with Anaheim Ducks. Like, it's not like this is a young guy. I'm not saying that nobody can ever, break out later in their career. We've obviously seen some examples of that happening. But definitely, compared to everything else that he's done in his career so far, these are some pretty crazy metrics. And especially the efficiency is what's got me wondering. The 18.75% shooting percentage when his previous career high in any single season was 12.6, which just came last year with Carolina, where he had kind of a similar role for a good chunk of the season on the Carolina power play. Yeah, that's the part that I'm still trying to figure out with Stefan Nason. I think it's possible that he maintains power play 1 all season long, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. And so that's the part that's got me a little bit worried. If the shooting percentage starts to fall off, and the power play 1 role isn't assured, which it isn't in my mind, with Timo Meier still there looming. Yeah, that's the part that I'm still trying to work through for myself when it comes to Stefan Nason. So yeah, I'm probably a little lower on him than you are, but definitely the underlying metrics, the stuff we like to look at, it all looks like A plus for Stefan Nason on the season. Okay, we'll move along. Talk about the Patreon for a quick second here. Supporter tier, $2 a month, access to patron only live shows once per month. You get all of that. Then for the Apples tier, $8 a month gets you the patron only live shows, patron only Discord channels, gets you show notes. You can get these show notes to this Christmas special episode if you so choose, if you're in the Apples tier. You can also get the Apples and Genos player evaluation tool, which will give you all the kind of evaluation, last 5 games, season totals, season prorated numbers, those ranks, and all of the metrics that we like to look at. That's what you'll get with the Apples and Genos player evaluation tool. And then for the true degenerates out there, the Genos tier, $15 a month. All the previous perks mentioned, plus I will personally answer every single one of your questions, guaranteed. And also, while we're here, I wanted to do a little Christmas giveaway. We want to get into the giving spirit. So if you leave a positive comment, rating, or review and DM a screenshot to me, you can find me on Twitter or Blue Sky or in the Discord. If you're in the Apples and Geos Discord, you can send me a DM through there. Find a way to send me a DM with a screenshot, and you'll get entered into a draw. We'll give it away in the next week here. Get it out to some people here. But yeah, we'll give away a couple of t-shirts or hats, whatever you're feeling, with some Apples and Geno stuff. We got this hat here. I'll lean in for the camera here if you're watching on YouTube. We got this hat if you're into something like this. We got some t-shirts. The t-shirts are actually really nice. I've been loving that. I've got a couple of them now. So if that's something you might be into, then yeah, go ahead, leave a comment, rating, review, DM us a screenshot, whatever you're able to do for us. That'd be awesome. And we'll pick a couple winners and we'll get some swag headed your way for, I guess the post Christmas season by the time it reaches you, but definitely something we wanted to do around this season of giving. All right, Blake, let's get back into it with some more Christmas parallels with some fantasy hockey players for us. Best gift ever. For me, that's got to be Conor McMichael. I know that it hasn't,
Love it.
he obviously had like the stretch where he was going absolutely nuclear, and it hasn't been quite the same level of nuclear over the last little bit. But I think people are kind of like underrating Conor McMichael again. Like I feel like the general consensus is that he like had this tremendous stretch and now he's like back to being nothing again. And that's just not true when it comes to Conor McMichael, in my opinion. Anyway, this is a guy who still has terrific season-long numbers. He's been maintaining a lot of deployment, 18 minutes, 45 seconds average time on ice over the last 5 games here. He's got 3 points in the last 5 games. He's been getting the top power play treatment, 16th in the league in on ice scoring chances, 4 per 60 over the last 5 games as well. He's on a 40 goal, 72-point pace, and we're 33 games into the season at this point, right? Like it's not like the season just started. This is where we're at on the season, and he ranks 15th in the league in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60 on the season. We're almost halfway through the season at this point. 8 more games, and we hit the halfway point. And yeah, the shooting percentage is probably running a bit hot, but the IPP is not that crazy. He's getting more run, and he's legitimately just performing at a level we've never seen from him before. This is a guy with a pedigree, first round pedigree as a draft pick. It's taken a little while. Maybe it's taken the new coach a year to get settled there in Spencer Carberry and to really realize what he's got here with McMichael. But now it really seems like the Capitals as a team are headed in the right direction, and McMichael is a huge part of that. And I don't think that we've seen the last of it with McMichael. I do think that this is a guy who's going to be able to keep it up for the rest of the season. How about you, Blake?
Yeah, I love the take here. I had to kind of pivot, during the early on cream exchange episodes where I would call this guy, a sell high, right? I think at some point I came to the conclusion that he's a stay high. This guy is a guy that has legitimately taken a step in his development, and he's getting prioritized by the team, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like he's, Mel Granlund, like on an island, he's like the only guy and he's getting run out there ragged. Like this guy is on a really good Washington squad and he's getting prioritized there. And they have good players, right? So, and he's been able to maintain power play one, which is really something that I love to see. And I think the future is absolutely bright for this player. He's going to go through ups and downs, but like you said, I mean, the ability to kind of just maintain. He's still on a 72-point pace, right? And he's putting up nuts numbers. I mean, not so much lately, but on the season, 39th overall in shots goal per 60, 15th in individual scoring chances for what? I mean, it's more than enough for us to like 33 games. That's enough of a sample size to be like, yeah, this guy's legit. And I think the deployment is really good. I am wondering what is going to happen with Conor McMichael when Ovechkin comes back. I think he maintains power play one, and probably it's a little bit of a boost for him, right? Because Ovechkin has a gravity of his own and he's on a different line. So now it's like that Granlund Celebrini situation, right? Now you've got that top line in Washington is even more dangerous with Ovechkin on it. Now, does McMichael get a little bit more run against maybe not the best matchup for the other team? Most likely, right? And that's when he was really succeeding early on. So I'm fully in on the player. I've got him in 2 spots, and I'm just happy to have him, right? Like this guy was on your waivers. He was on nobody's radar at all. What did you have McMichael projected for? Did you project him even?
Yeah, that's a good question. Did I even project McMichael at the beginning of the season? Let's see it here. Yeah, I did project him at him for 20 goals and 39 points. There you go.
Yeah, buddy, me too. I had him for 20 exactly, and then I've got him for 39.6 points.
Yeah.
So obviously, this guy's he's cooking. He's going to smash those projections, and I hope he does. I love when young players like this just reach another stage in their development and kind of separate themselves from the pack.
Yep. Good take there with Conor McMichael. So I'll turn it over to you, Blake, for your best gift ever. Who was the player that you drafted late or picked up on waivers but has turned into a star this year?
There's only one answer, Nate. Okay, and that is Martin Necas. Oh, buddy. I love me some Martin Necas. Obviously, this I've actually gone back and listened to some of our episodes because I'm like, what was I saying about Martin Necas? I want to just, that's something that I do. We don't think about fantasy hockey enough. I have to go back and listen to our old episodes, Nate. But I just wanted to see what I was saying, and it all tracks, right? Like the main thing with Necas for me was they cleared out a lot of roster, like players from the roster, where RBA had no choice but to put Necas on the power play. And to me, it was always about Martin Necas going on power play 1. That's where I thought he was going to eat. That's where I thought the numbers were going to go up for Martin Necas, and they have, right? Like he last year in 2023-24, he had 13 power play points. Well, he already has 19 power play points in 33 games, less than half of the games, and he's already crushed his number from last year. So that makes total sense to me. So I feel good about that. That said, I mean, he's on a 109-point pace, folks. No. Okay. Martin Necas is not going to get 109 points. We have to be realistic about that. I mean, I was telling Nate offline here, but I don't normally dig in on Martin Necas because I don't want to know. Right. I don't want to. Ignorance is bliss for me. I'm like, yep, Martin Necas, 109 points. Yep, I'm here for it. But yeah, this guy is absolutely, like, especially at 5-on-5, his numbers are sell high, right? Like, he's got crazy efficiency, but he's shooting less. He's actually getting less scoring chances at 5-on-5, right? And that's because of his line, right? We don't even know who he's playing with half the time. He's got Jesperi Kotkaniemi out there, Eric Robertson, but, they're putting Martinuk up there. They're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So, at 5-on-5, Martin Necas, like, and you can see lately here, like, if the power play is not going in Carolina, Martin Necas really isn't hitting the same way he did, right? Mm-hmm. So that's just something to keep in mind. But I still think this is a guy that's he'll probably be at 85 or 90 points at the end of the year. And that is amazing, right? I drafted this guy on 6 of my 9 teams. Almost all of those teams, I drafted him after pick 100. That's insane, right? This guy's a legend. If he hits point per game, like even a point per game pace the rest of the year, that's an absolute dub. I don't see how he doesn't do it. He's clearly a very talented offensive player. And, I was able to sort of identify this guy through those micro stats, right? This is a guy that showed out in Corey Schneider's game score, which is basically a combination of like zone entries and offensive contribution, which is like shot assists and scoring chance assists. Martin Necas was at an elite level. He just wasn't getting the deployment. And when I saw that, I figured he would be getting that deployment. And now we can kind of see what's happening. I obviously 109 points, no, but we got to love some Martin Necas. Nate, did you get him anywhere? Tell me you did. Come on.
I don't have Necas anywhere. No, unfortunately. I wish.
He doesn't listen to my takes. No, he doesn't.
I wish I could say that I'd listened to you a little bit more on the Martin Necas stuff for sure. Yeah, I do still think he's probably a sell high at this point. Definitely started to come back down to earth a little bit in the last little bit, but if you've had Martin Necas to this point, you're probably doing all right in your fantasy leagues because he produced so much from such a late spot that he's become that star player for you. So big kudos to you for sure for identifying that guy and getting him on a bunch of rosters. All right, let's keep it rolling. Let's talk about the ugliest Christmas tree. This is a player rostered in a lot of leagues for no apparent reason. For myself, that's going to be Brock Faber. Brock Faber is rostered in 84% of Yahoo leagues currently, and he is not doing a lot. Like, he's not been on top power play for a long time. He has not scored a goal in longer than Philip Forsberg. He has not scored any points in the last 3 games here. He had some upper body stuff. He was questionable to play, did play, and still played a bunch of minutes. He also only has 2 shots in his last 4 games, 3 shots his last 5. Like, what is Brock Faber bringing to your fantasy squad at this point that you're still holding on to him? I don't know, and I don't know why people are still hanging on to him. Blake, can you unravel this mystery for me?
Well, I'm a good guy to ask because I'm rostering him in 2 spots.
There you go.
But those are deep leagues. That's the only reason, right? I mean, one is a 16-teamer, and the other one was Kikuffle, and I dropped him recently. But I think it's just access to good players at this point and sort of history, what he was able to do. But that doesn't mean a hill of beans, all right? Damn, this guy's not doing a damn thing. And he got usurped by Jared Spurgeon. He spurged all over Brock Faber. Good thing he was wearing glasses. Oh, no. Merry Christmas, everyone. Jeez, we'll edit that out later. Yeah, there's zero. This is one of those tough ones. It's like a pick lock. It's like one of those guys where you're like, it kind of takes a little bit extra to drop Brock Faber, even though it shouldn't, right? You look at the metrics, you look at what he's doing out there. One thing that is great about Brock Faber is he gets a ton of minutes, right? But that doesn't matter. There's lots of guys out there that get tons of minutes. It doesn't mean anything. Like Brock Faber doesn't even get periffs. He doesn't do that. So I'm totally with you here. It doesn't make a bit of sense. I guess maybe people hoping he gets back on power play 1, but he had power play 1 and he didn't do anything with it. So, I'll be dropping Brock Faber here soon, everybody. If you're in a league with me, and you want to pick him up, I'll be dropping him soon. So I'll let you know about that. But yeah, I'm with you, buddy.
All right, give me your player, Blake. Who are you thinking should not be rostered in as many leagues as they currently are?
Yeah, it's a similar take. It's Gustav Forsling. And I'll say this about Brock Faber as well and Gustav Forsling. Amazing players in real life. These guys are amazing defensemen. That's their position. And the role of a defenseman, I mean, traditionally is to stop the offense, right? Suppress offense. You're a defenseman. And Gustav Forsling and Brock Faber do that really, really well. But what the hell? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Forsling is rostered in 80% of leagues in Yahoo. What? What is he? I don't. This doesn't make any sense. Like he's a streamer at best, and even then, it's not even the main guy I would want. I think I'd go with Uvis Balinskis. I'd be like, buddy, at least he's getting put out there in some offensive situations. Forsling on the year, what is he pacing for? 30 points. Sheesh. I mean, at least Faber's pacing for 41. Forsling's for 30. Although I will say, at least Gus Forsling, we know that he shoots, right? And
yes.
Remember 2 years ago, like when we had Ekblad, we had Forsling, and we had Brandon Montour popping the hell off in terms of shot production from the back end in Florida there. That was really nice to see. I think that got us excited about Forsling. But that never materialized. What did materialize is last year in their Stanley Cup run, this guy became one of the best defensemen, if not the best defenseman at suppressing offense in the entire playoffs, right? And I think that's safe to say that's what Forsling was. So maybe people are kind of riding those coattails, but to me, there's zero reason for fantasy to be rostering Gustav Forsling.
Yeah, pretty hard to argue. Like the guy doesn't sniff power play time. Like, what are we doing here?
What are we doing?
It's not a situation in which you can expect any kind of offensive production. He doesn't, hit a lot or anything for bangers leagues. It's just a situation where it's like a name brand thing because he was in the Stanley Cup Finals and was a player that a lot of people were talking about. That's appears to be, to me, the only reason why he's rostered in as many leagues as he is. All right, let's keep moving along. Let's talk about Oli Bolin. So Oli Bolin, I have to shout out my Dutch heritage here. It's a Dutch, like, if you're from Canada, it's similar to a Timbit, like that kind of situation. Sometimes people make them a little bit bigger, like a little bit more like palm size rather than like Timbit size, a little bit smaller. But it's like a donut-ish treat. Basically, like Oli Bolin literally translates to oil balls, right? Like it's a pastry that you boil in oil, and it tastes delicious. You like dip them in powdered sugar, and you can eat a lot of them because they're like not full donut size, so you don't like feel so bad about it. But then you will have dietary problems, bowel movements, etc., etc., after the fact if you continue to indulge. They taste fantastic. They are great early on, but they are destined to disappoint you later on when you have to make your inevitable trips to the bathroom. So a couple of players that came to mind for me here, couldn't pick between them, so I'm going to throw them both out there. Travis Konecny and Anze Kopitar. Konecny's been on a heater all year long. 38 goal, 97-point pace for Konecny, 21 minutes a night, crazy deployment. But he's riding high on everything here. 89% IPP, 18.4% shooting percentage, 12.1% on ice shooting percentage. That's just so much higher than what we've seen out of Konecny for most of his career here. Definitely, I'm not trying to take anything away from Konecny. Terrific player. But like also a situation where he is the guy and he's been able to get it done on his own, even despite the fact that his shots per 60s down, his individual scoring chances are down, his Corsi for is down, like everything in terms of his shot and chance generation when he's on the ice is down. He's getting more minutes, an extra minute plus per night. That's been helping him. And then it's just all been like kind of crazy efficiency after that. That's got him to this point where he's at right now. I do think that regression is going to hit, and it's going to hit pretty hard for him at some point here. And if you can get off of Konecny at this point, I do think this is a good exit exit point for Konecny when he's at this pace. I don't think this is something he can sustain long term. Same story for Anze Kopitar, 24 goal, 89-point pace. This is a guy who's 380th in the league in shots per 60 and somehow still pacing for 89 points. Yeah, wild stuff. 24% shooting percentage, 16.5% on ice shooting percentage for Anze Kopitar. It's not going to sustain. I love Anze Kopitar. I think he's a terrific player, super fun to watch. Yeah, just sustained such a high level of play for so long. But yeah, he's very clearly under the hood showing a lot of the effects of aging compared to years past for him. And it's been like a very clear downward trend over the last couple of years. He's sustained the last couple of years through efficiency. So far this year, he's been able to do that as well. But I can't believe that he's going to just like continue to grow in efficiency as he ages into his late 40s. That doesn't happen basically for anyone, no matter who they are or how good they are. So I do believe that we're gonna see a big time fall off for Anze Kopitar in the second half of the 2024-25 season. What about you, Blake? What do you see for Konecny and Kopitar going forward? Just two names starting with KO. Like, I don't know if there's something there, but yeah, tell us what you think, Blake.
All right. Well, I like that statement there. All right. I love hearing you talk about buy lows and sell highs. By the way, we never get to do that because I love buy lows and sell highs. And yeah, we should put our heads together on this, buddy. I don't know, make a super buy low and sell high show. But yeah, I agree with both your takes here. I think Anze Kopitar has he's such a smart player, and this is a guy that has adjusted to the game. He's adjusted his style, and he's that good, right? He's able to 89-point pace. No, I think that moving forward, he'll probably struggle to hold like a 70-point pace, right? Moving forward, look, like this efficiency is insane. That's definitely going to drop off, but I trust that player a little bit more and what he's been able to do throughout his career, and also his line. Like Kempe, has been playing very good. I like Alex Turcotte up there that they're playing him with Anze Kopitar now. I think he just has some bits and pieces there, and he's a good power play performer, and his role on this team, he knows what to do. You got Doughty coming back. I've trust Kopitar a little bit more. Again, certainly not an 89-point pace, but yeah, Travis Konecny, this is a guy that I sort of that we identified early on as a guy that's going to do a hell of a lot better than what he did last season, right? Like 68 points in 76 games. That's great. He only had 9 power play points on the worst power play in the entire league that Philly had. So he already has 8 power play points in 34 games. That's where I saw that number coming up. Like, I thought this could be a point per game player, and I still do, but he's pacing for 96 points, folks. No, that's not going to happen at all. He's shooting less. He's getting less scoring chances, and he plays for a man named John Tortorella, all right? Who, he's probably the safest guy on that team, but even then, he was benched the other night. Like, Torts is doing all kinds of stuff. He doesn't care. So yeah, I love that take. Like, yeah, if you can trade Konecny for like upgrade for Travis Konecny, I think that makes total sense. But yeah, Kopitar is one of these guys that, you could almost treat him as like, the best gift ever, right? Like one of those guys. Like, you picked up Kopitar like after pick 200, and this is what he's doing. Even if he has a 60-point pace moving forward, like that's a massive dub.
Fair enough. All right.
Oh,
Let's kick it over to you, Blake, for your Ole Bolin player.
You bet your sweet bippy, buddy. We got to get together first off and have some Ole Bolin together. We can have a little Ole Bolin eating contest. I know I would crush you on that. There's no question. All right. I don't stop till the wheels fall off, right? Till I pop a button. But anyways, my guy's Matt Duchene. Anytime I get a chance to talk Yang on Matt Duchene, I do it. All right.
It is a theme. It's definitely a theme with you.
It has to come true. If I keep saying it, is it going to come true? But yeah, I mean, Matt Duchene.
Maybe when he's like 45, but yeah, it'll definitely come true at some point.
Exactly. I'll outweigh him. All right. That's my level, but of pettiness. But yeah, I mean, 77-point pace for Matt Duchene. Obviously, this guy is amazing. I am done sort of talking Yang on Matt Duchene, but the problem is like So many things. First off, the deployment. I'm not a fan of the deployment, right? He's getting second line minutes and second line power play. So, he's been making it work, no question. Like he's been going off. The injury to Tyler Seguin has made a big difference on that line with him and Mason Marchment. Both him and Mason Marchment are mired in like a slump, right? Like this guy's got 0 points in his last 3 games, 1 goal in his last 5. Metrics terrible as usual, but I mean, the individual scoring and the individual shots for Matt Duchene don't tell the story of what this player is, right? He's amazing at offensive generation for his teammates, right? But Seguin was one of the guys who was at the end of those passes, right? And Mason Marchment was scoring off the rush. And now those guys aren't doing that as much. And they were all living off massive efficiency. So 24% shooting percentage for Matt Duchene. Buddy, I'm sorry, that's not going to continue. All right, that's insane, right? That's the highest shooting percentage he's ever had. At 5-on-5 too, like he's shooting the highest he ever has. Scoring chances are down, but usual stuff, right? On ice shooting percentage, like pretty good overall. So to me, it's like the 77-point pace is where I'm off on Matt Duchene. I think this is more of a 60 to 65-point player, and I would be trying to get off Matt Duchene like a hot damn if I had him. But I can't draft me any Matt Duchene. All right. Unless he's like a flyer pick at the end of my draft, but this guy just keeps doing it. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like it's, I don't know, where are you at with Matt Duchene? Did you foresee this kind of season coming after his 65 points in 80 games last year, Nate?
No, for sure. I think anybody who said they foresaw this coming is lying to you a little bit, but definitely he's exceeded what we thought was possible. I had him for 59 points, 24 goals, 59 points, and on pace now for 33 goals, 77 points. He's definitely exceeded expectation there.
Ridiculous.
24% shooting percentage is not going to continue. I tend to agree. That being said, like last 5 games here, almost 18 and a half minutes average time on ice. They've really prioritized the top 6, especially since Sagan's been out and they've been trying to lean on their top guys a little bit more. And so that part is a little bit interesting to me, where that could change the outlook for Matt Duchene moving forward. Do I think that he's a 77-point player even with increased ice time? No. But I do think that that part keeps me a little bit more interested in what he might be able to bring to the table. But overall, I have to agree. I think he is destined to disappoint, at least relative to the pace that he's put up so far.
I remember, buddy, in my so before this podcast here, Apples and Ginos, I had another podcast, and one of my first ever shows was like my first 3 or 4 shows. I talked about sell highs, and one of the guys I identified was Matt Duchene, and he was a sell high. He didn't do anything that year. It was after his big year in Nashville, but yeah, ever since then, I just can't quit, tooting in the man's face. So, buddy, he's making me look like a dingus. I don't know what to do. Just go, what he needs? More Oldie bowling. All right. That might be his secret sauce right there.
That's for sure. All right. We got to get to the last group of players here. These are players who are basically Santa. They never stop giving gifts. For myself, I couldn't pick between these 3 players. Jesper Bratt, Zach Werenski, Kirill Marchenko, all players that I was big on in the preseason, and all players who have had massive, massive years so far. You look at Jesper Bratt, who's on pace for 32 goals, 98 points on the season. Awesome. Zach Werenski, 26 goals, 77 points from the back end, second in shots per 60 and individual scoring chances 4 per 60 amongst all defensemen, while skating almost 26 and a half minutes a night. Crazy stuff from Werenski so far. Then you got Kirill Marchenko, who's got 7 points in his last 5 on point per game pace so far on the season. And yeah, looking at the underlying metrics, I'm wondering what there is to really fall off there. It doesn't seem like there's much of a chance of that falling off. So yeah, all 3 of these guys, I just think they're not going to stop at this point. I think these are guys who are just performing at new levels and who we were thankfully pretty in on in the early season. I remember Kirill Marchenko was one guy that I put in the players no one is talking about segment, episode 366, if anyone wants to go back and look at it. I had some misses in that episode as well, for sure. Brady Shea was in there, so I'm not saying that I've made every pick perfectly, but Kirill Marchenko was a player that I identified could be that guy. We talked a lot about in the projections episode too about Dean Evison being a coach that identifies these guys who can elevate a team with their goal scoring and their point production prowess, like he did with Matt Boldy in Minnesota before he got canned there, and he's done the exact same thing with Kirill Marchenko in my estimation here in Columbus. Columbus, and so I love that. Zach Werenski, have been big on him for seasons. He's been criminally undervalued for multiple seasons at this point. Glad to see him finally getting his due and popping off. And then Jesper Bratt, I had him in the players who might score 100 points for the first time. I don't know. He's a little
Let's
bit under
go.
that pace, but he might hit it this year. So that'd be something to see for sure. Any thoughts on these three guys here, Blake?
Yeah, I'm in on all of them. I didn't get Brat anywhere. It's just the way it worked out in my drafts. Like he was getting taken higher than I wanted to take him. But damn, I mean, I love that 98-point pace. That's amazing. But Werenski and Marchenko are your boys. You've been talking about them for years. So this is really nice. Like it feels like, because we've been doing this for 3 years now, and I feel like some of the takes we had 3 years ago, they're like, they've developed into like these staples, right? A guy like Zach Werenski, we've been talking about him as a 20-goal defenseman. Well, he's on pace for 26 this year and 77 points, and he's in the Norris conversation. He leads all defensemen in ice time. That's, I mean, all the NHL basically. That's Zach Werenski. I mean, he's doing that. So kudos to you. I love Kirill Marchenko too. This is a guy, another guy that's taken a big step, and that coaching there in Columbus has really elevated his game, and he's been giving him opportunity to cook. And he's not just an offensive player. This is a guy that he plays well in all three zones. So I'm a big fan of all three of these guys.
Absolutely. All right, Blake, give us your player who is basically Santa.
You bet, buddy. I got three as well. I'll just rip them off. Nate MacKinnon. I mean, I don't need to say too much about this guy, but I was telling Nate earlier, like, I have McDavid in a couple spots and I have MacKinnon in a couple spots. But I find that MacKinnon is giving me clutch points, where McDavid is like popping off in a week where I don't need him to pop off, right? Like where MacKinnon is winning me matchups on Sundays. And I'm just, that's what it feels like, a gift that just keeps on giving. He did it again tonight. I've got him in my couple team, which is a 14-teamer, and he's just going bonkers. And he's one of my favorite players, if not my favorite player to watch as a forward. So, shout out to him. I think, if you were lucky enough to get him on your team, he's really cooking for you. Sam Reinhart, damn, this is incredible. I obviously I'm a fan of this guy. This is a guy that we earmarked last year. We're like, yep, Sam Reinhart's going to really pop off this year. We didn't call him for 57 goals or whatever he got, but it's kind of the Necas situation. We're both like, yeah, this is a guy you need on your squad, and he's major value, right? But I still can't believe he's doing what he's doing, right? The shooting percentage still insane. That the power play points, nuts. I mean, this guy's a legend. I'm such a fan of him. And again, it's his defensive acumen that really is underrated, right? And allows him to be on the ice in all situations. And he obviously has major chemistry there with Barkov, right? Who is an elite player in his own right. It's just a nice situation for fantasy in Florida there. So shout out to Sam Reinhart. He's been super consistent as well. He's on a 105-point pace. And he could do it. I mean, he's shooting 25% after he shot 24.5% last year. What? Oh my God. I mean, I feel like he could do it. It should regress, but I'm not going to count this man out. I think we're looking at again, a 90 to 100-point player with Sam Reinhart. And then Quinn Hughes is my last guy. And I just got to shout out my boy here because I watched a lot of Canucks, and nobody does it like this guy. He's so underrated. He's so shifty. We've had this conversation before, Nate, like Makar and Quinn Hughes. And to me, Makar is a much more dynamic player. He's more noticeable on the ice. Like he's just doing crazy stuff, whereas Quinn Hughes does everything. It's almost under the radar, but he's an amazing skater in his own right. He's upped his shots on goal per 60 to the highest level of his career, which is amazing. He's pacing for 99 points. And I mean, I think everyone, if you're on Twitter, like looking at any hockey tweets, like what Quinn Hughes means to this team here in Vancouver. When he's off the ice, this team gets caved in. Okay, like it's not even a question, right? But when he's on the ice, they're dominating Corsi 4. They're tilting the ice in the Canucks direction. So I just think I think he should get Hart Trophy consideration this year. Like just the value that he has to this team here. And again, like you have him in your couple team. I always felt like Quinn Hughes is a little bit spicy for me in drafts. It felt a little high, but like shame on me. This guy's pacing for 99 points and I'm here for it. So I don't know. What do you think about those three players, Nate?
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. Obviously, MacKinnon, we thought he was going to have a terrific season, and he is. So not much to say there. Reinhardt's an interesting one because of how unexpected last season was and the level that he popped off to, but clearly he's found something that really works there with Barkov, especially, and on the power play. And it seems fairly repeatable at this level. I don't know, 25% is pretty hard to
It's
stomach for
nuts.
any player. But yeah, if there's anybody who can do it, you think like Leon Draisaitl and maybe Sam Reinhardt's putting himself in that conversation with just how easy it seems to be for them to get him into the right spot and get that shot off that's so deadly from the middle of the ice there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, don't disagree with anything you've said there. And then Quinn Hughes, yeah, it's definitely a player who's like taken another step. Like he was already a borderline elite defenseman before, last year when he really took another step. And now last year and into this year, he sustained it. It really does seem like he's taken that next step where it is like the Cale Makar versus Quinn Hughes every night. Like that's the Twitter question of the night, it feels like.
He's
And
closer now, isn't he?
it's very close, and I think we should just be honored to be in the presence of greatness with these two players and be able to watch these guys. They're so fun to watch.
No
I
doubt.
love watching defensemen, especially defensemen who can skate, who can create, and kind of run things from the back end. It's just so entertaining to watch every single night. So I'm super happy to have both of these guys on some squads and be able to root for them night in and night out. But yeah, definitely. I didn't have because the natural process is to wonder how much of last season was like a peak season for Quinn Hughes versus like a new level that he had broken out to, and so I didn't have that kind of projection on him, but I was able to get him in Kikuffle. I think it was early on where maybe people were still feeling out the prices in the auction draft there,
Right.
but I was willing to go up for him. I'm very glad that I did, and he's been a huge staple of that lineup for a good chunk of the season so far. Big reason I'm headed to 8-3 on the season in Kikuffle there as well. So let's keep going. Let's finish this thing off with the recap of the head-to-head streamer deathmatch. Um, so I mean, Casey Middlestat, what are you doing to me, man?
When are
I
you going to learn, Nate? All right. You
Yeah,
talk so much English. He can't even do a pull up. We know this.
yeah, every time I tried to, like reverse psychology it, because you picked Casey Middlestat against me a bunch of times, and it always worked for you last year. And anytime I've tried to, pull the reverse Uno card on you and get him on my squad, it's gone horribly. In this game, it's a 5-2 win for Colorado. It's closed now, and Casey Middlestat has zero cacuffle points, zero shots, zero hits, zero blocks, zero anything. He basically did not exist for fantasy purposes in this game. So another handy win for you with Quentin Byfield on your side, getting a couple of goals, 14.5, good couple of points for Quentin Byfield. Blake's up 8-3. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Blake, who are you picking for next week?
All right, we got to make some picks here. Okay, I just checked. All right, I'm going to take Alexi Protas. I'm going to have some fun. I mean, both Nate and I were talking 25% rostered and under. It's slim pickings, folks. So we're getting towards the bottom of the barrel here. But I like Protas's game, especially recently.
Fair enough. Protas is definitely in the top five for 25% and under. I'm gonna go with Braden Shen.
Ooh,
I feel like
see
this
that
is
coming.
maybe a little bit spicy, but the underlying numbers aren't so bad for Braden Shen. He's been shooting a bit, he's been hitting a bit. Like I feel like even if Braden Shen doesn't get me terrific points and goal totals or whatever this week, it's a short week, 3-game week. Both these guys might end up with like a single assist on the week, but Braden Shen, I think at least is going to provide some hits and blocks and shots and stuff along the way. So I'll throw Braden Shen in there for me. I've been picking all these guys like Casey Middlestat, the guys that I'm like begging to get an assist to get me some points. I'm done with it. I'm getting somebody who I think is going to throw the body around and get me at least a few points and make this not such a drubbing week after week where I just feel absolutely terrible about myself.
Sorry about that.
Braden Shen is my pick here. I think that is going to bring us to the close here. If you've made it this far, you should definitely join the Apples and Geos Discord community. 100, what are we at? 15 something, 1,500 plus fantasy managers
Not
in the
enough.
Apples and Geos Discord. Not enough, though. So
Get
we
your
need you in
biscuits,
there.
baby. Come on.
Click the link in the description, join the Discord community, come talk fantasy hockey all day and all night, every day. Christmas Day, there are going to be people in there talking fantasy hockey. So if you're sick of your in laws on Christmas Day and you want to get in there and talk some fantasy hockey, that's a good spot to do it. Like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, send me the DMs of those screenshots. We'll get you entered in a draw for some Apples and Genos merch. But that is going to be all that we've got for this episode. Hopefully, it brought you some value, helps you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey and at the Christmas cheer today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, a terrific free resource. Many thanks to the band They're There for supplying music for the podcast. Be sure to check out their Spotify as well. That's it, folks. Much love.